Curtis, I want to get to the president's national emergency declaration, unable to get a complete wall deal done through the legislative process. God knows we tried, couldn't get it done. Now he's going to free up $8 billion from various sources to enhance the $1.375 billion he got from Congress for the wall. It'll be challenged. I think he's going to eventually win in SCOTUS. What do you make of the whole thing, Curtis Ellis?
This is dereliction of duty on Congress's part. It is just amazing. These people who are now whining and complaining about the president seizing power from Congress and not respecting the Constitution. And you had a soundbite on of some congressman saying, we want to see Congress taking its power back and having a balance of powers. These are the same people that were more than happy to give Obama fast-track power, give him the power to negotiate trade deals unilaterally, and nobody cared about Congress shirking its constitutional authority then. But now, by the way, some of those very same people are now complaining about the executive power, which is a law that Congress passed that gives the president the power to do this. And they also, by the way, are also trying to pass a law to take back undue fast track. So, look, the president's first duty is to uphold and defend the country, uphold the Constitution, defend the country, and you can't have a country without a border. There is no question about that. And Stephen Miller made a very, very good case yesterday on Fox News that if the president had invoked national security to build a wall around Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, you would not have heard a peep from anybody. Mm-hmm. But if he wants to defend the border of the United States of America, suddenly it's some type of constitutional crisis. These people are hypocrites of the first order. And I do hope the Supreme Court upholds him. It's going to be in the hands of John Roberts, who has been kind of squishy lately. But I think he will be upheld. The law is very clear. He has the authority to do this, and I can't think of a better reason to do it, right, but to defend the border.
I can't see SCOTUS knocking this down. I mean, the president's got clearly the authority to do this, and I just can't imagine Roberts. I mean, after he defended Obama's whatever it was, Obamacare, saying that it was a tax, there is no way that he's not going to vote in favor of this. I think it's going to pass, as it should. And so, look, you talk about walls. What about the green zone in Baghdad? I mean, ever even seen pictures of it? They have this huge wall that goes around a complex
right
in Baghdad, in the green zone. I mean, it's, what is it, like 35 feet? I mean, it's huge. It's impregnable, right? We can have a wall there, but we can't have one to protect our citizens on the southern border. Curtis, it just doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense at all. Anytime a politician gives you a reason why they oppose something, it's always something else. It's always another reason. They want open borders. They want their donors to have cheap labor. They don't give a fig about American working people, about the safety, security, and economic well-being of Americans. They care about the economic well-being of a few super wealthy giant corporations that want free labor, cheap labor, the cheapest labor they can find anywhere. And that's what they care about, and that's who they're representing, unfortunately. And they believe in globalism. They believe that really there shouldn't be any borders. Right. Companies should be able to operate freely and do whatever they want anywhere, and we're too sophisticated to believe in nations anymore. Yep. And when you hear a politician give some high-sounding reason for why they're supporting or opposing something, it's usually a lie. It's usually a lie. And in many cases now, with these Democrats and even some of the Republicans, they're against it because Trump is for it. 6 years ago, I'm sure you could find, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, you could find an instance where they supported the very same policy that they're now opposed to. For example, Senator Toomey, Pennsylvania, 4 years ago, he voted for fast track to give the president this superpower to negotiate trade treaties without consulting Congress. Now, Senator Toomey is introducing a bill to take that power away from President Donald J. Trump, so Congress has to be consulted on trade treaty negotiations, which is the way which he voted against. He voted against that when Obama was president. So they're all a bunch of phonies.
No question about that, Curtis. The bill that the president signed, a lot of us looked at that bill, the compromise bill. He got $1.375 billion. I didn't necessarily have a problem with that low amount of money because I kind of get the whole thing. I mean, I'm an adult, right? But a lot of the concessions in there were policies to protect illegal immigrants as soon as they walk into the United States that act as a magnet to draw them in. Legal status, legal representation, food, shelter, bus tickets, basically baking into the cake, catch and release, etc. A lot of people didn't think you should sign that, maybe just pocket veto it. What about you?
I think that the negotiators on the Republican side were a bunch of sellouts, and they collaborated with the Democrats to put this stuff in there that never should have been in there. Yeah, they basically gave asylum to anybody who thinks or anybody who lives in the same neighborhood as somebody who might think about sponsoring an unaccompanied minor at some point in the future. This person cannot be deported now. This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Some very bad. Let me just say this, and this is no news to you, John. You're very well aware of this, and your listeners need to understand that the president has been ill-served by many of the people around him. Now, this is not a case of that necessarily, because this was negotiated by senators and House legislative people in Congress. The president didn't negotiate this. The White House didn't negotiate it. They're not allowed to. That's not how the way our government works. He could have vetoed it. They could have pushed for continuing resolution and continued the negotiations for another week or two, which I think would have been a better way to go, but that's not what happened. Right now, we know that if the state of Texas declares an emergency, the same way the president declared a national emergency, that would override all those bad aspects in the bill as far as Texas goes. Because one of the other pieces in the bill says that the town council of Falfurrias, Texas, has to approve any wall construction in Falfurrias, Texas. And that would be overridden simply by the Texas state legislature determining and, along with the governor, declaring a state of emergency in Texas. Then they could ask for federal assistance, and it would override all of these really noxious, pernicious things that have been baked into this spending bill. And the spending bill is over in 6 months, so hopefully all that other stuff will expire too.
So that other stuff expires in 6 months. That was the concern that we had, right? That's your understanding of it. It all expires, right?
Yeah.
So it would have to go in again, but definitely, Curtis, the president once again sold out by his Weasel Republican negotiators in there. It's really unbelievable. I'm going to time for this segment. I got to go. It is great to have Curtis Ellis back on the air after a 3-week jaunt across the Middle East. Great to have you back, man.
Thank you.
John Fredericks.
Great to be back.